he's not going backwards, right? Like, he's not playing in space. He's 260 pounds and can run through this table at full speed. Like, just let him do that, right? All right, guys, Boye Mafe, pass rusher, University of Minnesota. This has been one of the big winners in the pre-draft process for what he showed at the NFL Combine. 6'0", 261 pounds, 32 5/8 on the arms, 4.53 verified at 261. And I think the first word that probably comes to mind for all of us with Boye Mafe is explosiveness.
Yes.
But we got a lot of head nods, we got a lot of smiles. Brentley, I'm going to start with you. What excites you the most about Mafe as a pass rusher?
For me, it's still his untapped potential and ceiling. This is a player who's still just kind of scratching the surface of what he can be. You talk about his athletically, what you said, he's 260 pounds, around 4'5". I mean, this is a guy who can really stress the outside hip of offensive tackles, win with speed, win with power. But for me, it's his ability to bend around the arc. For a guy who has some length, who has some size, he's a really flexible and loose athlete, which I really appreciate. And so he can win really 3 ways. He can win around you, he can win through you, and he has some kind of that inside counter stuff because he is so flexible, so sudden as a rusher.
Yeah.
If you go offensive tackle, you don't know what he's going to throw at you. And so, again, while there's some still technical stuff to refine with his hand usage, being able to dip and rip in some of his pass rush moves and being able to tie them together, the fact that he's still productive at Minnesota without being that kind of refined technical rusher, again, I think he's just scratching the surface.
And you see high-level flashes, too. I mean, you think about the spin move, and he really has that violence with that finish, that nuance to throw that ice pick, that inside elbow to pin that offensive tackle's arm so he can't reset his hands up. You see it from time to time. But I agree with you wholeheartedly in that it's the consistency component for Boye is one of the things that once that light bulb comes on a down-to-down basis, you're going to get a lot better and more impactful football player.
One thing that I liked about when I was watching was the lateral agility too.
Yeah.
Like, and you think about in the NFL today with the mobile quarterbacks, you see a lot of the RPOs, the kind of read options where they're reading that in. He knows how to play half man because he trusts his ability and his burst and athleticism, and he gets a wide base. He will shuffle down, stay halfway. So, hey, if you give it to the running back, I'm going to close in on that. If that quarterback keeps it, you're not going anywhere. And I love that about him. And you talk about his ability to bend and get around the edge, and it shows with his 40 time, he has that closing burst that once he wins, the quarterback will feel him very quickly.
The foundation of traits here is really exciting, and if I'm a D-line coach in the NFL, I would love to get my hands on this guy because he's got so much – I wouldn't say so much. He's got all the unteachable stuff, right? Like, what's he missing in terms of size and athleticism? Not a single thing, and Brentley pointed out the looseness, right, the flexibility, how he can bend and really win around that outside hip. And so it's just about – fleshing out that pass rushing skill set, learning a few more different pass rush moves, have a little bit more in the bag and developing that consistency. But, this is a player that I don't think we envision as one of the first edge rushers off the board, but certainly a strong case to be that second tier kind of towards the back of the first round. And I think he's one heck of a consolation prize if you don't get one of those top 4 guys.
Yeah, definitely. And then when you watch the film, you notice that Minnesota puts him in so many different positions. And it's like, you know what, if I'm a D-line coach, I'm like, I'll stick him right at outside linebacker. You're not going anywhere else. I'm not reducing you down to a 3-tech, to a 2-eye, 4-eye. I'm letting you do what you do best. And I think if you'd have did that at Minnesota, you may have seen his numbers increase significantly, and we'll be talking about that top 10, top 15 pick because the numbers will be there to match up with the athleticism and the testing.
And that's a great point because one of the big questions from Boye is from a sack production standpoint. He never blew up from a sack production standpoint, and that's a question. But I mean, we've seen guys that have come through the draft process who have this exact same question, and then they get into a different environment and things change all of a sudden. You got more complementary players around you, or in the case of a guy like Boye Mafe, I thought they asked him to do more things because he was athletically capable of doing it and allowed them to structurally do things on defense that gave them variety. Versus if I want the best version of just Boye Mafe on a down-by-down basis, he's not going backwards, right? Like, he's not playing in space. He's 260 pounds and can run through this table at full speed. Like, just let him do that, right? And then after you hit an offensive tackle with that a couple times and he's really eager to get out into that vertical set, then I can come back and work inside after I threaten him through those first 2 steps up the field.
Man, I with his athletic profile, it reminds me of a guy that plays for the New Orleans Saints. Cameron Jordan, and even just their career trajectory. 'Cause I remember initially when the Saints drafted Cameron Jordan, he still had a couple years to figure it out. Like it was a progression, a developmental stage for him. But once he got it figured out, and I'm pretty sure they're pretty similar as far as size. I'm pretty sure Cameron Jordan is 6'4", 270 pounds, really good at stopping the run. But this guy also consistently puts up 10 sacks. Is it ever 15, 20 like Von Miller? No, but it's always a consistent 10, 12 sacks, and he's a motor for that New Orleans defense. So I think about those two guys in career trajectory and potential in Boye Mafe.
Mafe's an exciting player. We have him up here in between our two designations, between our 3-4 rush linebackers and our 4-3 defensive ends. I think he's fairly scheme diverse. That versatility is going to make him an appeal to pretty much every team in some capacity early in the draft, and that usually results you getting your name called earlier. Boye Mafe, second round eval, Minnesota.